Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully you guys can hear me. Hey, Raphael, good morning. Hi, Miles. All right, so good news, you guys can hear me, right? That's always a good thing. Good morning, Al, Ron. All right, guys. So a few things going on here. A short just appeared on the pound Aussie. That's the first trade of the morning. There was certainly a good one, or a few actually, a couple good ones earlier, but that was way before the start time. So here's a short at 83.74. Don't forget we're going to adjust it around the quarter century number. We don't want to get short at 7.5, but definitely at 7.4, and it already pushed through. So did it? Let's see. Got to 7.2. Yeah, so that one's live. We'll see if we can navigate through these expanding EMAs. So that one's targeting 8361, 53, 45, 37. Stops up there at 8396 with money management at 8363. Crude oil trying to get to its full target. Target 1 in this case, it just barely missed. Judging by the way the chart looks, it feels like it's going to get it done for us, but that one got short right at the start time. Says short at 83, I think 82 to get at least a tick past that 200 moving average, which it got through anyway. But anyway, you can see it got short. Finally hit its money management. A little slow but steady. And pushing through, and there it is hitting its target. So first target in the bag, 22 or 21 cents. And Mondays have been days where we've been one and done quite often with many of our plans, and this one certainly is one and done again today. It's still going. The stop just moved to 73.72. And if you're new to the room, thank you. Feel free to ask questions. We just looked at 2 Spotlight Master Suite trades. We'll look at a counterpunch trade here in a moment. Raphael, why don't you send in an email to support at backpacktrader.com. Kevin will be able to help you with that. The 377 tick on crude oil, you could start at 8:50 or 9 a.m. And if you're starting at 8:50, you can see the one and done right here. This is at 8:59, first trade of the day. Not a big trade, stabbed right down and hit that target 2 objective. It was only 11 ticks, but one and done, rather quick and efficient. There was a second trade here at 9:03. Did not quite get to target 2, so that was a break-even trade. So that puts us into the next one. And that one, the stop and reverse adjustment would have kept you short because you needed to get to 81 to get long, and it didn't get to 81. So staying short, that one hitting money management and still trying to get to target 2. So depending on when start time changes the outcome of that session. This one's still going, but 2 break-even trades. So this is the power of quitting trade for a 9 a.m. start time. And it looks like it's got a good chance of hitting its target 2. In fact, it just missed by 1 tick right there. and it looks like it's going to hit it. So this session's going to be done regardless, and there it is. So target 2. So Counterpunch Trader getting it done on a couple different ways here this morning with the 377 tick chart. Good morning, John. Thanks for the heads up on the sound and video. Appreciate that. And the YM getting short right at the start time, and that one banging through its target 1 objective, its target 2, and that stop, keep it above the 200 moving average. Keep it at 04 would be fine, or 06. It's going to move lower here in a moment, looks like. And another one and done on the YM. And that's a nice market to be trading. They all are, really. So the YM one and done. Spotlight Master Suite. Getting it done this morning. Crude oil continuing to push lower. Getting past its target 2 for $340. And the stop moving lower, 73.71. And it's about to move to 66. When this bar closes, there it is, 66. And target 3 in sight. Target 3, 73.25. So you got to wonder if it's going to come and test the $70 a barrel level from above. If you can visualize, support becomes resistance, resistance becomes support. You had that $70 a barrel was pretty strong resistance, and we got up above it for a while, and maybe we'll come off and come down and test it from above. If you could think big picture, longer term chart. From a technical point of view, it wouldn't surprise me. Unleaded gas, boy, it was Friday amazing. Any of you guys trading Friday unleaded gas? Because you had multiple $100 swings up and down throughout the day. And it's no surprise that today would be a bit choppy as a result. So, 9 o'clock. I mean, I don't know if that was a trade anyone was able to get into. It looked like it happened so fast that there'd be no way to execute on that, even though it looks like a loser. This one, though, definitely short, then long, then break even. So the partial loss on this trade, but now breaking lower on the third trade and hitting money management, and it's a much larger trade. So this trade, if it keeps going lower, should hit power of quitting. That was a $47 tick target 1 and a 73 tick target 2 if we can get to it. So this trade could finish this session with power of quitting if it keeps moving in the right direction. And even, well, yeah, definitely that's what we're looking at here. But I wouldn't expect much from unleaded after the historic swings that we saw on Friday. 400, 500, 600 tick runners. The catapult scalp and run that I've been working on, the scalp and run technique that you've heard me talk about now for quite some time, was on fire Friday. Truly amazing. There was one trade plan that in 3 trades had over like a 550% return on risk, something like that. Just amazing. All right, so the YM also pushing lower, getting it done, also getting through all 4 targets. And the stop moving down, 261. These things keep popping open, but since this is here, I thought I would show you because I made a screenshot. Whoops. These are the kind of moves that we were seeing on Friday. Pretty amazing, huh? It's a 28 tick risk with 3 positions, so you got couple scalp, high percentage scalp targets, and then the big runner. Just that one trade alone was pretty phenomenal. I mean, if you only traded the runner and nothing else, it was a 2,207% gain. If you figure 28 ticks of risk and 618 ticks of profit. Kind of makes you wonder, huh? Yeah, 574% return on these 3 trades. A little break-even trade down in here. This entire session lasted about 25 minutes. This is what that trade plan is looking like. I was getting nervous when it was drawing down, but it keeps breaking out, and you can see it broke out in a huge way Friday. Pretty amazing. That wasn't unleaded. That was heating oil. Unleaded also was nuts. Here's a look at unleaded. It was very similar. I didn't figure it out in percentages, but you could see it's pretty similar. Except it was 2 trades and they were both shorts. 624 tick runner. I mean, the scalp trades are nothing to sneeze at, but they don't look like anything when you scale it to the explosive runners that happen sometimes. And that one also with a great equity curve. A little more drawdown. This had me nervous, but to see it recover in such a big way like that, I mean, drawdowns happen. But if you knew you could start here on the left and get up to here on the right, would you go through a drawdown? Pretty important question, because the reality of trading is that's really hard to deal with, but sometimes you just hit the pothole in the road, or a few of them. Anyway, so the YM getting it done, huh? Look at that. Stop moves down to 218. Unleaded gas. Definitely power of quitting on this trade. Nice 73 tick target 2. And that stop moving down to 22 or 2.2456. And getting through target 3. Pushing on target 4. If you have any questions, just let me know. Just a quick announcement. We are going to be dark next week on Monday, July 5th. No trade room. Just a quick look at the Russell. This 1.5 point momentum bar has been working pretty good lately. You can see two nice trades here. First trade getting it done, second trade adding to it. I think it's just still a 20 tick momentum bar, Dawn. There's a couple different ways. There's something I'll be teaching in the boot camp, so I'm not going to really get into it now. But they're 20 tick bars. All right, so looks like the YM is finishing. Stopping out at 196. And in case you haven't heard, the boot camp is scheduled July 29th, and then day 2 will be, instead of back-to-back, we're going to have a one-day rest. So July 29th, Thursday, and then Saturday, is that it? July 30th? Did I get it right? 31st, obviously. One day rest. 29th and 31st. And still not too late to get in on that if you're not in yet. So look at soybeans. Soybeans now is the front month is actually the November contract. That's quite a ways away. November. So this morning, this morning's a little tricky because you've got this setup that becomes valid with one bar where the line, well, yeah. The first trade ends up being this purple trade when you think this through, because you couldn't really execute on this one. By the time it showed up, the bar was already opening up above it. And the purple trade. This is where it's useful to have the full counterpunch trader. I mean, this works fine on Counterpunch Express, but with the full counterpunch trader, you can choose your start time. Actually, it looks like there are some trades that happen really fast in here, so it's possible that this is a first trade, actually. Because you could set the start time and turn everything off to the left. But this happened pretty quickly. It looks like there was enough time, though, because you have all these bars above the entry. So you're not going to stop and reverse This is where okay, I should explain. The hybrid mode prevents you from a stop and reverse against the color of the trend mode indicator, the blue and red line. So when you're long, this is a counterpunch technique. You're not going to stop and reverse to short. Right here, there's a grayed out trade because the trend mode indicator is blue. If you're in Counterpunch Express 2, that's a rule that you just have to know and memorize. And then you just follow the rule, because Counterpunch Express will not apply filters. That's not built into the indicators. That's why it's called Express. But the rules still apply, and you can learn the rules, and you just have to remember. When you're in hybrid mode, which is what this trade plan uses, you're going to stay long here. So there's no way to get short, because once the bar closes, remember it's a range bar, there's just, anyway, you could see the calculator's tracking that trade all the way up, and it went ahead and hit targets 1, 2, 3, and then stopped out. So soybeans put on a really good trade here, even though this looked really messy because you got lines and dots and you got to think it through. But the calculator did it for you with the full Counterpunch Trader, with Counterpunch Express 2. It's just a matter of learning the rules, practicing them, and getting good at it. That's why we have filters. Filters do make things a little more complicated sometimes, but they help. They help. That filter kept the trade long and prevented a short, which would have then went long again. So instead of 2 losers and a winner, it gave you just 1 winner. That's what filters are supposed to do for you when they're working as intended. Not always the case where they'll work as intended, but over a large sample set, that's where you see their benefit. And it showed up today, that's for sure. So soybeans, a nice trade plan to be trading with Counterpunch, with that 5-tick momentum bar. Yeah, I have to open up a Catapult workspace. Give me a chance to do that. One sec. I'll be right back, guys. So Ron, it looks like I'm gonna have to create that chart real quick just because I don't think I have it on this computer. I'm waiting to see what loads up here in a moment. Okay, I think I found it. All right, so first of all, I don't believe we have a 9 a.m. trade plan. 9:30. Remember, keep everything in exchange time so that there's no confusion. ES trades out of Chicago. So here's let's make this an actual contract chart. ES, U. So here's a look at the ES this morning, and first trade of the day here was 5 minutes after the markets open at 8:30. Okay, no worries, but we're not at 9:30 yet. 9:30 is in 30 minutes, 33 minutes. So I'm not sure what we're looking at. Here's the 8:30 plan, 8:35. And you can see it just went through all its targets for a pretty fast winner. Again, Ron, don't confuse your local time with the exchange time. The trade plan times are not based on local time. They're based on exchange time. You might have to turn the trailer on. I'm not sure. I mean, they should be trailing. In the calculator, here are the trailing stop settings if you want to double check. Yeah, some people confuse the YM and the ES with the US market time because the stock market's opening up at 9:30, but the futures are traded out of Chicago. It's an entirely different market. It's a different time zone. So we always keep everything on exchange time because we also have people all over the world in all their different time zones too. So to keep things uniform and easy to explain, where we're all talking the same language, we always keep things in exchange time. So why your thing isn't trailing, I mean, there could be a graphics thing where maybe you got to fix a color on it, or, I mean, there's no reason why it wouldn't trail. You can see it trailing here. So that's the 5-minute chart, Catapult ES. Oh, good, sure. What was the problem? It's usually a little tweak here and there gets it done. All right, we're going to look at a long-term USO chart. We were looking at this last week, I believe, and you could see the weekly chart. This is a long-term position type of chart. Looking at the weekly chart, you could look all the way back and see the COVID meltdown. And then you could see it just inching its way back, up, 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 up. This is US oil ETF. The week just starting, so not a lot of body in that current bar. Okay, D01 and D03. Let's look and see. I'm curious. Gotcha. So D01 is the percent of the way to target 1 before it starts trailing. So when it's set to 100, that means it goes 100% of the way from entry to target 1, and then that activates the trailer. If you wanted to do it like we do with Spotlight Power Trader and go 90% of the way, or 0.9x, however you want to say it, you could put a 90, and then it will start trailing when it gets 90% to target 1. Or if you want to start trailing at target 2, the 1.5x, you would put 150 for 150%. So that's how that input works. It's a pretty cool input. It also has to go not only the percent of the way to target 1 or beyond whatever percent you put here, but it has to meet the criteria of D02 as well. So it also has to have gone 6 ticks. So for the Dowie Mini, for example, we would make that 10 ticks. 6 ticks is too small. So that's another important filter, if you will. Another extra piece of criteria that we need to have happen before the trailer moves or activates. Because sometimes with a 5-minute chart, a lot could happen or very little could happen. Really, that's true with tick charts too, but mostly with time-based charts, we don't want to start trailing if it's only gone, you have a 4-tick target 1, for example. That's true with the break-evens also. The input works the same up here in the C column, but instead of a percent to target 1, this is just working off of target 1. And you set it to true or false. So you don't really have a way to tell it what percentage to target 1 to move your stop to break even. But you can tell it the amount of minimum ticks it has to go. So it's always going to be 100% to target 1 and a minimum set of ticks. So you can get a little bit more control over if the trade's too small. You don't want to move that stop to break even. That's the number you increase right there. Minimum ticks. Minimum break-even money management ticks is what that means. So that's a pretty interesting input. Another input no one really understands very well, and it's a really great input you could play with, especially if you have the advanced automation. You could learn so much from this, is when you use the fixed target as a target to move the stop. And maybe you're not moving the stop to break even. Maybe you're just moving it to cut some risk before you get to break even. So you could have the fixed target at a certain level, and when it gets hit, you can tell it to move the stop X amount of ticks minus the entry. So maybe if there's a 20 tick risk and you go, I don't know, 10 ticks, let's just make that a 10, you can move the stop to minus 10 like that, and use that as an incremental input to reduce your risk and still give the trade room to develop. So that's an interesting set of tools that not too many people know exist in the Catapult. Since I have this open, might as well tell you about it. There's also the really cool N-bar X-Factor trailer. And this is where you could tell it at a certain level, whether it's target 2 or some multiple above target 2, maybe 4x, 5x, 10x, wherever, start trailing the bar with a 1-bar stop or a 3-bar stop. So with every bar that closes, it puts the stop 1 tick below it. You can trail that bar and clamp down and tighten the stop and take advantage of explosive moves. especially those blow off tops at the end of a big runner. So I mean, you could do that visually too. You don't need the calculator to tell you to do that, but you can use the calculator. You could also use it to trail another catapult line. And you could mix and match. So it's going to always go to the one that gives you the tightest, best exit, most profitable exit. And with the automation, you could test the relationship between these different stops. So you start off trailing an EMA, which is the default of 14. It seems to work really well. But you could try other EMAs, a 12, a 9, whatever. And then at a certain level, you could start trailing either 1 bar or 3 bars. And then at a certain level, you could start trailing a catapult line, whichever one. So lots of power in here. The trailing stops are like lot could be done with that. And then if you're using micros, you could peel off with different trailing techniques and get the best of all worlds. So catapult's pretty cool. Could do a lot for a simple strategy. This trade's still going. So I've kind of hit everything. I mean, unless you guys got any questions, I'm trying to figure out what more I can show you that might be interesting. I mean, I was hoping the Euro Aussie was going to be a good day trading chart, but there's hardly any movement at all. Forex has just really slowed down lately. Pound Aussie under some pressure. Hopefully this top up here holds and we move lower now, but it looks like it's coming up to test these highs. I don't have a lot of confidence in this short trade, but you never know. This might be the one losing trade this morning. What else? So here's another way to use Spotlight. This is a pretty cool little plan here. This is a 60-minute chart. So that does make it a little tricky to trade, because trades could happen at any time. But if you use Spotlight, snapshot trading, when you have a chance, you just look at your charts and see if you can get in sync with the trade. Obviously, this one happened late Sunday night, and there was really no way to get in on it unless you're over there in Europe or on the other side of the world, or you're up all night. But it's been doing really well, by and large. I haven't looked at it in a while, actually. Yeah, little drawdown here, but just to check it out, you can see it's still winning 82% of its trades. So it doesn't look like a big net profit, but that's a mini. So the average net is around 18 pips. It's gone down a bit. It was in the 30s. It doesn't mean it will stay there. You can see that it made some new highs, but recently has come off. So that was back in June. Yeah, in the middle of June, it made a new equity high, and then it's had a few down days or down trades here. It doesn't happen every day. It's an hourly chart, but now that's the automation. When you're trading something by hand, I mean, you can see there were several losses in a row in here, but when you put adjustments on, it's possible you might avoid some losing trades. I don't know, we'd have to analyze it, but obviously automation doesn't do adjustments. That's why we use automation just as a big picture to give us info to then figure it out a real trade plan with the 5% art decisions we would make. That makes all the difference usually when you adjust around support and resistance levels, and stop and reverse adjustments usually makes a bigger difference. But you can see it, some trades don't even get picked up. So this is a winner here that did not get picked up at all. It's just the way the automation is just not perfect. But the strategy in the 60 minutes on this has put up some nice numbers. I mean, that's still an 82% win rate. So something to think about if you want to trade a slower time frame and use snapshot trading. Maybe you miss some trades sometimes, but you know, some of those trades you'll be glad you missed if they're losers anyway. And some would be winners, but some you'll catch. So the snapshot trading is definitely a good way to go if you're trading slower time frames and you don't want the trading to take over your life. Because otherwise, how do you manage an hourly chart or a 4-hour chart? You don't want to have to check your charts every 60 minutes. There's no way to trade. It's really hard to do that with any consistency over time. But with the snapshot trading, you just check once a day at the same time, and if the trade is there and you can get in sync with it, you place the trade, and then you use some sort of stop, or you have to have alerts. The only problem with that style of trading is if it hits a target where you need to move your stop to break even and you're asleep. You could use FX Synergy, and FX Synergy could be told to move that stop to break even for you. Like, you could set that up. Definitely some hands-on management you have to do, but you could use tools to make it so it's tradable and doesn't take over your life. Something to consider if you're a Forex trader. Those time frames take advantage of some large moves that could be really good. And they win at a high percentage when you find a good plan. I mean, the pound-yen 4-hour chart we've had in this Counterpunch Trader Owners Club for like 7 years, and it's still winning 85% of its trades. And it had a 10-year look back 7 years ago, or 5 years ago, how many years ago? So for 15 years, it's won like 85% of its trades. So might be worth finding a way to trade something like that. You just have to figure out a way to do it where it doesn't take over your life. And if you use a tool like FX Synergy, you don't need to be perfect to make money with it. Now, food for thought. Forex is always tricky. Bore you to tears, and then wake you up with a fury, and then put you back to sleep again. One thing I thought would be interesting that I kind of wanted to show you guys. Let me just look at something really quick. I don't remember if I showed this to you. Did we happen to look at the Bitcoin futures contract last week? I'm going to show you something. Is anybody in here investing in Bitcoin or Ethereum or other cryptocurrencies? I'm sure many of you probably are, and for good reason. I just want to show you, let me know if you are. Yeah, so Kenneth is, Ron is. All right, so this is the CME Bitcoin futures contract. It's not something I typically trade, but I use it as a proxy. And with Counterpunch, I just popped it on there. I put like a 4x, we could look at the settings, but I think it's like a 4x swing trade type of setting. Actually, it's not. It's more like it's just a day trade. It's just just the default. Yeah, there's nothing special on here at all, really. Just checking out what I got. I do have key level adjustments. Don't think that really matters. It doesn't matter. You can turn it off. It wouldn't make a difference. So here's the thing. got toppy right up in here. And if you're using traditional, just common sense stuff that you've always learned, here it is making new highs, but you have your high trend chop indicator, and in this case we don't care about the chop part, but the high trend. So this is a fast trend on a weekly chart. That's what this histogram simulates, making lower highs, higher highs, lower highs. So there's some serious divergence. All right, so warning one. Meanwhile, then you get the short trade. Well, it's been nothing but down since. Yeah, look at that. So you could see with everything that we follow in the room with most of our charts, we always put the 50 moving average over the 200, and we know that when the 50 starts bending down towards the 200, we want to follow the yellow brick road, so to speak. And the odds, I mean, there's all a test zone in here. It could find support and go back up for sure, but the money is made on the downside if it breaks lower. And it keeps pressing lower and lower and lower. Look at, this is what I call the squeeze zone, where you're not going to take a long trade that sets up inside of this zone unless you have your target one also inside. But we call that the mustard line. It doesn't cut the mustard. In other words, the mustard line comes between the entry and target one, and that's going to prevent you from getting a long trade. We don't have any of those, but that's what it's designed for, and Spotlight works the same way. So you could see that the 200 moving average has really had a magnetic pull on the price, right? It's been orbiting up and down and around and up and down, but it's been living below it now for multiple days. Support becomes resistance, and will this hold? I mean, it cracked through the floor. On the 22nd. We had this spike down all the way down to 30. Was up to 65-ish. Got as high as 65.9, 40. Lost 50%. Spiked down, went up, but it's been on that 200 moving average, and it's having a hard time living above it again. And that 50 pushing lower, 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 lower. There's a good chance that we get another leg down. If you think about action, reaction, subsequent action, you could look at a weekly chart too, but just judging from this trade here, call that an action, and then a reaction that's kind of still going. It's finally got, you want that reaction to be 1/3 to 2/3 of the action, and then usually we get a subsequent action that mirrors the first action. And that could still happen. It's just that there's so many defenders that are coming in and buying, thinking that they're buying low. I personally would guess, and of course, what do I know? My guess is as good as anyone else's, which is not good at all, that there's a good chance we're coming down to test the 20s here. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying there's a good chance it's going to happen. It already put a crack in the floor here. Is that the low? Does anyone think that's the low? Could be. Could be an inverse head and shoulders forming around that 200 moving average. It could come up and test up in here again. But if it stays below this level here, stays below, puts in a lower high, and then starts heading lower, I mean, watch out. It could really sell off. So I'm waiting to buy. I mean, yeah, maybe this is a good time to buy, but I lived through the dot-com boom and the dot-com bust. And every time those high-flying stocks went down like this, I'm like, they can't go any lower. I'm going to pick this off at a good price. I'm going to pick off Yahoo at half the price it was a month ago. That's a good deal. Wrong. I don't know if you guys remember that. Everyone's trying to buy those high-flying internet stocks as they keep selling off, getting them at a bargain, as it keeps going lower and lower and lower. History repeats itself. Charts repeat themselves. I don't care what the symbol is. human psychology, en masse mentality, psychology of the market does not change. I don't care what, if we're feudal, ancient Japan, rice merchant markets, Amsterdam tulip markets, or 2021 post-COVID Bitcoin markets. I don't care. The mentality of the market is not going to change, and history is going to repeat itself, and the price is going to tell you what the price is going to tell you. Ari asking, why can't he change the colors on NT8? And what are the diamonds that appear and form a line? Hey, John, you want to take that one over? I don't know. You should be able to change the colors. I don't know why you couldn't. So you're probably just not doing it the right way. And then diamonds. What are the diamonds that appear and form a line? Is it I don't know. I can't visualize what you're asking. Diamonds forming a line. I don't know what that means. I'd love to help you, but when it comes to Ninja Trader, I'm kind of a dunce. John, on the other hand, he knows what he's talking about, so maybe John can help you with that. Not sure if John's listening, Ari, but I'll send him a message and see if he could figure out what's going on with that. When he does the room on Tuesdays and Thursdays, he uses Ninja. So if we can't get it answered until tomorrow, I'm sure he could probably pull up a chart, show you what's going on with that, and answer those questions for you. You could always send in a support ticket as well. If you want to send me a screenshot, troy@backpacktrader.com, I'll take a look at what you're asking about and see if I can make sense out of it. Because I can't really visualize what you mean by diamonds forming a line. I don't use Ninja. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed the session today. Let me know if there are any other questions. Otherwise, I'm going to end our work today and say goodbye to you guys. Don't forget, a week from today, we will be dark. We will not have a session. Tomorrow, John will be doing the room, and Ninja. The Energy Futures Bootcamp will be July 29th and 31st. Please don't forget to hit the like button on this video session. That really helps. And if you have not yet joined our Discord Trade Hacking Club, you're free to do so. There's a link on the the YouTube video notes. You'll find a link to join. And Raphael just can't place any trades yet. Yeah, it takes a little time to get everything set up, and once you do, you want to make sure you're well practiced and got a good trade plan you believe in. The market's not going away, so just remember the investment in yourself is the most important thing, and then the trading comes after, once you're ready. Yeah, so give Kevin a chance to respond to that. I'm sure he'll get you in there as quickly as he can. We'll get you in there, no worries. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you on Wednesday.